In the beginning of the movie, we see a high-security neighborhood in Buenos Aires, where security cameras watching the movement of every person walking on the streets. There we see a man who comes and look around an SUV model car that catches his interest. He breaks into the car, which seems too easy for him to open. His name is Ciro and he is a thief. He begins taking everything including the car stereo. He also finds sunglasses, which he wears and see himself in mirror, thinking that he is very smart. He finds all this very easy, and therefore decides to have some fun in the car. He starts peeing on the back seat of the car, and makes it dirty. As he finishes all his stealing and peeing, he wants to open the door, to come out of the car, but the door doesn't open. He quickly tries to open another door, but all the doors are locked completely. When the doors do not open, as it is a bulletproof car, therefore the windshield and the doors are very hard to break. Angrily he tries to break the car windshields but couldn't break it, although he is using his both feet to break the glass, but the windshield remains firm. He frantically tries to get out, ripping the door panels off, but cuts his arm when he tries to reach for the lock mechanism. He also looks for the car floor to break it up, but the floor is also having reinforced steel. Now when he has no option left, he decides to shoot the front windshield, but when he fires, the bullet bounces back and hits him in the thigh. He picks up his phone and tries to call someone for help, but his cell phone's battery dies. To stop bleeding, he wraps his t-shirt around his wound. The situation worsens when he finishes off the last of his Pepsi in the bottle due to high heat inside the car. As he struggles inside the car, he sees a woman fixing her makeup using the car door window, but when Ciro screams for help, she does not hear him. This shows that all the mirrors are polarized, that's why nothing can be seen inside from the outside. Ciro is now here in a very bad shape as is trapped here, and there is nothing to eat. He only had a little Pepsi which he finished earlier. When nighttime comes, Ciro is plagued by thirst, causing him to lick the door windows for water. Well, he manages to pass the night somehow, although he is in extreme pain because his leg hurts. A grasshopper is also trapped in the car which produces sound that annoys Ciro. He wants to kill it but then change his mind. The next day when Ciro wakes up, he reinstalls the stereo to play music, which will help him to maintain his sanity. He also tries to break the door again, but in the meantime, he gets a call. The stereo stops playing, and a number calls the car with the caller ID named Me. Ciro picks up the call and the man say that my name is Dr. Enrique Ferrari. He says that I am the owner of this car, and I have been robbed 28 times before, and now with this, it will be 29. He introduces himself saying that he is a doctor specializing in obstetrics. Ciro doesn't say much, he only repeats one word, get me out of here. He tells Ciro that the security system he built into the car, which he calls 4x4, has cut the electric power within the car at the moment Ciro broke in. The car is completely bulletproof, soundproofed and polarized, so no one will hear or see him crying for help. It looks very strange that people walk around in the street, but they are not seeing Ciro. Enrique tells Ciro that the only thing in the car which is not secured is the gas tank, but Enrique teases that it has been rigged with an explosive that will explode when Ciro wants to rebel. Enrique asks Ciro questions and talks about his personal life to him. He reveals that he is a widower, has a daughter and grandchild, and is suffering from terminal cancer with only a few months left to live. Ciro doesn't care about Enrique and demands to be set free, while threatening to kill Enrique and his family if he doesn't get him out of here. He tells him that he is dying of thirst and melting of heat inside the car. Enrique hangs up the phone and turns on the air conditioner to its highest level. Enrique didn't do this for his welfare, but to torture him. At first Ciro feels relaxed as the heat goes down, but slowly the temperature falls down to the lowest, and Ciro starts shivering. The air conditioner freezes Ciro to the point that his lips turn blue from hypothermia. He just wears his shirt again, and tear a part of his jeans to tie his leg. Ciro also has to deal with his leg which has become infected from the gunshot wound, and a lack of food and water. Now it has become very cold inside, and he has to close the dashboard openings with some paper and the car rubber mats. Suddenly, the AC switches off and a call comes from Enrique again. Ciro asks him to release him, but Enrique says that you need to answer some of my questions, after which you can leave. Enrique asks him that what will he do if his sons steal a car. Ciro says that he will grab his ear and will give him to the police. Enrique says that this is a wrong answer, as no father can do this to his son. Ciro begs him to let him go, saying that I learned my lesson, but Enrique says that only if you answer my questions correctly. He tells him a story about his daughter, that how thieves enter her house and took everything from her, but Ciro do not give attention to his story because he is thirsty and hungry too. Look like Enrique is tired of these thefts and robberies, and now he wants to take revenge. After a while, Ciro sees a police car stops in front of him. He shouts and asks for help, but the sound is not going out of the car. The police officer comes out of his car and inspects Ciro's car from all sides. He then cuts a fine ticket for polarized windshields, put it on the front windshield, and then leave. Ciro knocked the windshields so many times, but from the outside the car looked completely empty and silent. Now the rain starts outside, but even though it is raining outside, he is dying of thirst inside. Meanwhile Enrique calls again and he asks Ciro for last name and ID number, but Ciro remains silent. He only saying one word, water, as he says he is thirsty. He tells Ciro that if he gives him his information, he will give him some water. Ciro give him his personal information. He tells him that the water is in the washing hose pipe, which is in the back of the car. He quickly finds the pipe, and fills the stored water in the bottle through a small pipe at the back side, which not seems to be clean, but because of thirst from the last 2 days, he drinks all the water without thinking anything. Now it is night again, Ciro sitting alone talking to himself, that suddenly his only companion in the car, the grasshopper, produces sounds. Ciro talked to him for a while to keep himself on track. He is kind of a friend to him. He is very hungry, and a delivery guy is delivering pizza right in front of him, but despite having food in front of him, he cannot do anything to eat something. The next day Ciro is not feeling well as his leg wound starts getting infected, and he has a fever with it. When Enrique calls him, he tells him that he is not feeling well as his wound is getting worse. He says that you have fever along with your infection, therefore he turns on the heating system in the car. Then he continues telling him stories about himself, but Ciro gets fainted and barely listened to what he is saying. The car inside becomes so hot that he has to remove his cloths. Actually, Enrique leaves no stone unturned in torturing him. Days pass and Ciro's sanity begins to drain. He tries to distract himself by drawing on the car interior, eating paper from the car's manual, and urinating in a bottle to drink his urine to stay hydrated. As he continues to keep himself busy, another thief comes outside and starts trying to open the car door, but the people from the neighborhood comes out and stops him from doing so. They catch him, and give him to the police. Now when night comes, he can't control his appetite, so he tries to eat his fellow insect, but then something comes into his mind, and he changes his mind about eating his friend insect. Meanwhile, a couple also comes and start to each other behind his car, then they intimate as they can't see Ciro inside the car. He watches them for a while and then turns his head away. Next day, after another call from Enrique, Ciro tells him that he will do whatever he says, but let him go. He says that he is in very good mood today, therefore he will treat him nicely. He tells Ciro that there is a chocolate bar hidden in the brake panel. After eating the chocolate, he now feels a little better. Ciro takes out the battery of his mobile and keeps it in the sun while he watches the routine of all the people outside. After several attempts, Ciro finally makes a small hole in the door, but this hole is so small that he cannot be seen from the outside. He wants to make a noise to ask for help, but he is too weak to make a sound loud enough to alert the people. Now again Enrique calls. He says he has visited Ciro's home seeing his wife Irina and his son Lionel. Enrique lied about Ciro's whereabouts, claiming he works for the lottery and Ciro won $100,000 which Enrique gives to Irina to help move out of their apartment and buy a house. Ciro is in tears that Enrique had gone to his family, asking what he did to Enrique to deserve his predicament. Enrique starts teasing Ciro that he has Ciro's criminal record, recounting his crimes from shooting brothers whose car shop Ciro robbed, beating a bus driver to death for stopping Ciro from robbing his passengers, and stealing a woman's car and purse alongside a friend and accidentally running into an innocent bystander. Ciro denies responsibility for his actions, claiming it was their fault for either pulling a knife on him or stopping him from stealing. Enrique says Ciro doesn't deserve his family for his crimes, and then phone gets disconnected. Ciro makes a call to his wife and son after having charged his phone battery in the sunlight for days. He apologizes for messing up again before the phone battery dies again. He also releases his friend, the grasshopper, through the tiny hole he made in the car door. At night, after hitting the start button many times, the car finally starts up, as the gear is stuck. Therefore he drives the car in reverse. The car hits a pole, and as the back windshield breaks, he comes out of the car. Suffering from his injuries, he is limping and goes to a gas station where he takes a bottle of water and a hamburger to eat. When the cashier alerts the security guard that Ciro hasn't paid for his food, Ciro shoots him dead for disturbing him eating. Ciro awakes and realizes that it was all a dream. Ciro has now completely lost hope. He realizes that he is not going to escape this car and therefore decides to kill himself, but suddenly the phone rings again. He asks asks Enrique that he wants to see his son, to which he says that it's not possible. Ciro says that he will kill himself and start counting, but luckily there is no bullet in the gun. He is completely broken down and starts crying. Soon Enrique comes, and Ciro sees him standing in front of the car. He comes to the car, opens the door, but there is too much bad smell inside the car. He takes out a perfume bottle and spray it inside the car. He then sets in the car, takes Ciro's gun, load it and put it on the dashboard. Now he is sitting next to Ciro, but he cannot do anything to him because he has no strength. Enrique takes out a cigarette, telling him that it is his last wish. Look like he is going to kill Ciro. As he gives the cigarette to Ciro, Enrique has an incoming call. He receives it, which is from a patient. While he is talking, suddenly Ciro shot him and comes out of the car. He is too weak to walk or run, therefore he fires a shot in the air and knock one of the doors, shouting for help. Suddenly Enriquez comes out of the car and grab him. He takes his gun and beat him while dragging him back to the car. Meanwhile, a lady police officer comes by and quickly intervenes. She asks Enrique to drop the gun which he holds to Ciro's head, but Enrique says that he doesn't need police to solve his matters, and asks her to leave. Soon a lot of police and people from the neighborhood arrives at the site. The event is broadcast by the media and the reporters are reporting live updates. The situation escalates to a public standoff with Enrique holding Ciro as hostage. The police call in retired negotiator Julio Amadeo to talk to Enrique, but Enrique gets half the community on his side when he talks about how no one cares for people like him or the neighborhood when things go bad, and people like Enrique is forced to handle things himself as the government won't step in. Some of the people shouts that Ciro should be killed as people like him have made their lives miserable, while some are saying that after all he is a human being and if he committed a crime he must be punished by the state, not by Enrique. Therefore, he should be handed over to the police. With half the neighborhood siding for Enrique to kill Ciro and the other to let Ciro free, Julio finally convinces Enrique to surrender and release Ciro. He let go Ciro, which is taken into custody by the police, while Enrique gets into his car and sets a time bomb in it. The bomb detonates, and he kills himself. Looked like he was going to kill Ciro too, as he was considering people like him responsible for the miseries in their lives. Ciro looks on sad-faced in the back of a police car, finally having been freed from captivity, but now has been arrested for his mistake. The media talks about Enrique and the event that transpired, having christened him the samurai doctor for his strong convictions in seeing himself in the right. Everyone talks about the changes that would have to make for the community to prevent further ordeal and get support from the government. Ciro is mentioned, having received medical treatment and released the next day due to lack of evidence against him. And at this point the movie ends. The movie gives us a lesson that what happens when people break the law and the trouble they face. It also shows how confusing the justice system can be, sometimes making people want to take the law into their own hands. It also shows how someone can be alone and trapped but still find a way to be strong and fight back for his life. It makes us think about what's right and wrong when it comes to punishment, and how technology can be used to keep people safe but also raise questions about how far is too far. Thanks for watching.